Now, the Hagosh is Psichas Pia Makar, and I'm going to be speaking a little quick because there's a lot to cover, and I hope, I was planning on being once before this week, but Mitzvah Hashem, we'll have a share on this next week. I heard in the afternoon the shiurim are not always on the inyan, so certainly the sugya on the inyan I can give on Kesamim and Hagoshes. So the first inyan, Hagoshes Psichas Pia Makar. Most paiskim don't know what that means. They are all tzitumel, and they're all asking women, and they have no Kabbalah exactly what is Psichas Pia Makar. Now, the Aruch HaShulchan, he already says right away, we really don't know what Psichas Pia Makar is, and he gives a mashal in one place, it's not over here, but in another place he gives an example. It's like somebody, you'll be my word, it's like somebody has to urinate, and you feel like an urge to urinate. And he says that could be a Psichas Pia Makar. And the other sheet is that you feel that you have an ikus, it's like a sharp sting inside, and other people want to confuse the Psichas Pia Makar with the Zivas Davolach. Now, the Psichas Pia Makar is the Mechaber Shita. You don't find this in the Rishonim. It's the Mechaber Shita, and already we have a machlokes. There's a Tshuva Shev Yankov that G'dolei HaPoskim bring down, the Debetzina Rav, and Rabbi Yonason Shteif, who is one of the greatest poskim of the latest Dar. Most probably you weren't alive when he was here. He was the Av Bezdin of Hungary, and he was in the Ir Habira, Budapest, and he came to America, and he became the head of the Adas Yiraim Kehillah, if I remember correctly, Adas Yiraim. He was a Goin Otzim. He wrote many sram that a lot of you are not familiar, in Kol HaTorah Kula, including Chumash and including Kabbalah. He was a Makobel, and the Satmar Rav, Zecha Tzadik Leveracha, Rabbi Yol, he used to go speak with him and learning. Many times when he wanted to consult a Shaila with somebody that he could speak and learning with, so he used to speak with Rabbi Yonason Eibishitz and vice versa. Rabbi Yonason Eibishitz used to speak with the Satmar Rav. So Rabbi Yonason Eibishitz writes, not Rabbi Yonason Eibishitz, Rabbi Yonason Shteif. So it wasn't clear to him if women really understand what Psichas Pia Makar is. So that's a very important thing to know, because if we're not sure, even though generally speaking, and these are one of the chidushim I'm telling you right away, that we see Psichas Pia Makar, and it's brought down in Shulchan Aruch, and the interesting thing is it's not muskim from a lot of people. And the Debretzina in a Tshuva Ksav Yad, that it hasn't been printed yet, but it's bought in the Piskei Ber Moshe. So there's a Tshuva Ksav Yad where the Debretzina said that he doesn't believe that people know what Psichas Pia Makar is, and we really don't know, and we can't be sure what a Psichas Pia Makar is. And then he brings a Shailos Teshuvas Shev Yaakov, who is a Kadmon, It was very early. And the Shev Yaakov said he asked all the Zikanas in his shtad if they know what Psichas Piyam Makar is. And guess what? They came back and none of them could tell him what a Psichas Piyam Makar is. They had no clue. So, and a lot of things, this is the Debratzina and Rabbi Yonis said, that they really don't know because they get mixed up. And also, our Nashim Tzidkanias are so nervous, they always think that they're always having a hargosha, whether it's a Psichas Piyam Makar, or they're feeling Azivas Davalach, we'll speak about that soon, or Nizdaza Ivarel, the Rambam's Shita. So, therefore, we don't really know 100% what it is. So, La halacha, I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to rock the boat. And we'll still consider Psichas Piyam Makar if the woman is sure, unless she has Sveik. Once she has a suffix, it's most probably not. And we can consider that a Hargosha D'Oraisa. And as far as the Rambam Shita, the second Shita is Nizdaza Evera, like she trembles, she has the chills. So I heard from in a shir from the Debratzina, I also heard the shir on Gans Hilchos Niddah from him, besides going through all the Svar. And in the shir, the Debratzina said that it's not considered a hargasha b'chlal, and you can consider it vadai that she has the chills, or she has a cold, or some other thing, and therefore we can't consider it. And that's halacha l'maisa. That even now, that's halacha l'maisa. That it's definite. Now, and who brings this down? Not only the Debratzina, he brings it from the Chachmas Adam. The Chachmas says klachiyad, nizdaza, verel, the chills, all these things. It's not a hargasha. So you should know if your wife or you get a Shailos, she has nizdaza, verel, you can discount it as a hargasha because today is not a hargasha. So I heard this from the Debratzina. He writes it from the Rabbi Yonis and Eibeshitz, and other poskim say as well. Okay. So now these things are the ones that are mentioned. The Rambam says it's a hargasha. And the early Achronim are saying it's not anymore like that. It's like Nishtana Ateva. The third Hagasha, so you all know what the third Hagasha is, Zivas Davalach, and that's the one that the Niddah B'Yehuda tells us is a Zivas Davalach, and he says that's the real Hagasha. So it's ironically the two that are supposed to be the Eraisa, that you don't have to be concerned about. And the one which is a Zivas Davalach, which is not mentioned in Shas and no Rishonim, it's the first one to mention it is the Niddah B'Yehuda and the Achronim. So that's the only one that'll be considered, according to them, a Hagasha D'Oraisa. Now there's a machlokes. Where does this Zivas Davalach, where does it have to come from? Where do you have to feel it in order for it to be a Zivas Davalach? So the Zivas Davalach, most poskim hold that it has to come from the Psichas Piyam Makar. You feel a davalach coming from inside. It's mashma, It's mashma like that from all the poskim that bring it down. It has to come from inside azivas davalach. But if it would come from the praisder, that's the vagina, or anything after that by the opening, that is not a psichas piyam makar, because that could just be mucus, it could be meragalayim, it could be other things. So here we have a shitas that today it's not even a hagasha, and if it's a hagasha, we have a machlokes. Where does this hagasha have to be? Does it have to be all the way deep inside, or is the price good enough? So, Lamaisa, the way we paskin on this is okay. Mashizov is the Chavis Das and the Sidri Tara and others, that you need the Hagasha, the Zov Dam Mimekara. Va Dafka Hagasha's Psichas Pia Makar, that's what's called Hagasha. But what it flows, the Dam Bepraisda, that's the vagina. I bipsara achitzen loy mikri Hagasha utahira midyaraisa. And it's tahira midyaraisa. So now we hear that the only one that we are knowing is it's a machlokes if it exists, and if it exists, it's only a drabanan, and that's the one that's one shchiach, and the one that says it's from the inside and not from the outside, that's the Aruch HaShulchan. The Ber Yitzchak is Rabbi Yitzchak Hachanan Spector. He was a Gadol Adar 2 or 3 generations ago, and the Chavis Das and the Biurim and others as well, Sivitar. Okay. Now, I was mine more in the Svarim. And they said the following. If you look in the Das Torah is the Masham, the Berjana Rav, who is Reb Sholem Shradran. I don't know if you know the Magid, the famous Magid, Reb Sholem Shradran. So his Zayda was the Masham. As a matter of fact, they had the same name. Reb Sholem Mordechai Shradran. They're both Kohanim. And in his Masham, he brings a Chavas Das, and he says that's the Mashmois of the Niddah Yehuda. If they weren't margish that it went out from the source, they only felt it in the Praizda. She's Tameya Minatoya, and that's the Shita of the Tzemach Tzedek, Chenel Girodea Simet Tzadik Vav. And so I would assume that you would paskin like that under normal circumstances. Now here's where the chiddush comes. The chiddush comes in the following. What? The zivas davalach, everybody's maskim, it's not the Araisa. Because it's not mentioned anywhere in Shas and Rishonim, and it is a Hagasha according to some Shitas, but it's not a D'Oraisa. So it's good to know if it's a D'Rabbanan. In general, in Hayra, you have to know, is this a D'Oraisa or is this a D'Rabbanan? You always have to make, the first thing you have to clear is it a deraisa, derabana? If it's deraisa, we know we have to be machmas of a deraisa l'chomra. If it's the Rabbanan, usually it's Lakula, especially Kesamim. He says, even when the Rabbanans were Machma, but Kesamim, we hold that it's always Lakula. Chazal were always Lakula by Kesamim. So, okay. So, okay. Now this, remember I mentioned there was a Chiddush Merab Sinigra, and I'm going to be Machriya to tell you Lamaisa what to do. The Chiddush Nifla is in the Piskei Ber Moshe. There's you have it in your library. The Ber Moshe, that Piskei Ber Moshe is Hafle V'Fela. Not only does it mention all the Chuvas Ber Moshe, which already they have Mafteichas on, not only all the Chuvas Ber Moshe, but he has many, hundreds of Chuvas Biksav Yad that they never were printed. But they're in this Sefer Piskei Ber Moshe. And not only that, he has from Kisvei Talmidim, and he also has from his children and his Elimelech that they also heard from him, and all the people that went to his shiurim. And I'm familiar with very many of them because I went at least to one or two cycles of his shiur. So, and I wrote down all these things. So the Piskei Ber Moshe is very, very chashiv, and he's not a machmer. He's a mekel, and b'ksamim sham lahakol. Like we said, most of the time, these are only rabbanans, and b'ksamim sham lahakol. So here is the Chiddush Nifla. Listen to this. In Piskei Ber Moshe, at the end of Sif Beis, this is his lashon. Amnam bizmanenu yesh lahakol yaise b'chol din zeh. Now, you heard the whole raid I said till now. Now, we still said, basically, you should know there's such a thing as a psichas piyam makar, if she knows what it is, which is doubtful. And azivas davalach, chills not. The Chachma Sadim says, he says out klor, there's no chills. In other words, the Rambam, which is a deraisa, he says that is a hargasha deraisa. All the poskim say that it doesn't exist anymore. It means she has the chills, and you don't have to be concerned about it. So, but now, what about the other hargasha? The zivas davalach. And an afkamina would be if she has a zivas davalach and she checks herself and she finds nothing. She has a zivas davalach. Now, if it's a real hagasha, which is the eraisa, so then if she finds nothing mamish, so she'll be tamei, right? You remember the mechaba. If she has a hagasha, she finds nothing, she's tamei. But you'll see that the Debretziner Rav and Rabbi Yonason Steif and Reb Menashe Klein and many other poskim, the Shev Yaakov was brought down to the Darkei Tshuva, says you don't have to be concerned that it's a deraisa. Why? Because women have nerven, they're nervous. Our nashim tzidkanias, they're always nervous that, maybe I had a real hagasha. I think I had a psichas piyam makar. I think I had the tittering, the chills. I'm pretty sure there was a hagasha over there, or any other one, because they're very nervous, because the is and niddah is the dava chomer, and it's isakaris. So women, imagine, they all say b'demyonis, they're medama that all these things happened to them. They had real hagoshes, but it's not, because we know, all these Rabbanim know from experience that all these things, they're medama. So whether it's Psichas Piyamakar, the Rambam Shita of the chills of Agna Gewisnish, and the last one, Zivas Davalach, she could be feeling a mucus. She could be feeling a mucus. So therefore, he says halacha l'maisa. This is a chiddush since I'm learning in the Kala. I never saw this before. That they hold that bizmanenu there isn't a hargosha d'oraisa, and therefore on whatever you can be saimach on, you can be saimach. And I'll give you one example where this comes up. In the Mechaba, you'll learn that whenever she has a zivas davalach, if she checks herself, she won't find anything. So by hands, what would the din be according to the Shulchan Aruch that you learned? Because you didn't learn what I'm telling you now. And they check themselves, and there's nothing there. What's the din of the lady? By raising hands. She has psichas piyamakar or zivas davalach according to the Niddah Yehuda, and she sees nothing. What is the din of the Shulchan Aruch? She's tameh, because maybe she saw tipas dam and it was niskanech, right? And she's feeling a kasha, and she how could it be she doesn't see anything? So that's a race. So most probably she did see something. So they say that since all these hargoshes are not really hargoshes, and we have Kesamim Shaimin Lahakol, so you have a right b'makam. This is what I'm saying. B'makam atzarich, that if you don't find anything, they're tahar. All right. Het chiddush. You're not going to hit it by somebody else. But it's based on everything he said. It's solidly based, because they all don't hold there's a hargosha. First, they don't hold there's a hargosha, so that means nothing is derisive. And only when there's a hargosha, that's at least the Rabbanim, if you don't find anything, you say it's niskaner. But here, it's, they're madama, and they think, they're nervous, and they don't find anything. The woman is tar, even if she finds nothing. Now, I don't want to rock the boat. Okay, so this last thing, I don't want to rock the boat, but I have no doubt that, like I said, the Debritzina and Yonis and Steif and the Shev Yaakov and the Darkei Tshuva, and I can go on, they would all agree with me. But it's good to know that even, not a shas adchak, even if you have a tzairich, that you couldn't find anything, that's even a tzarech, not a shas adchak. She thought she had this hagasha, and she didn't find anything. She will not be tameh, because of the reasons I just gave before, because it's in the imyonis, and it wasn't a hargosha, and we're makel on that. So this is important to know. And I have one more thing to add to this. Another tzad l'kula is that a woman, if she sees all these types of things, the hagashis, if she sees it, and I heard this from the Debretzina also. I heard this from the Debretzina. That's big. I shouldn't say I heard this also. I heard it from the Debretzina. The Debretzina said in a shir, which I was there, I heard with my own ears. The Debretzina said, "B'mitzios." Listen to this. He says, it's almost impossible for a woman to have a zivas davalach and not find anything. Because a woman has mucus inside, and there's always something inside. You'll see, with Hashem, you'll have a very good shemesh in Mars. You will always see white. You'll always see mucus. There isn't a metzias kamat. It will be kamat like an S. Because inside a woman's constantly seeing mucus. And that's what all the Suffolk Maras are inside it. She's seeing mucus. And the older they get, they get like menopause and whatever, then for sure you're going to find mucus. So listen carefully. So we are saying she doesn't find anything. Bizmanenu, that's the metzias, that she'll feel this liquid and she won't find anything. She will find something. She'll find a white thing or whatever. Okay? So we gave a few reasons why there's a makom lahakol, even b'makom tzarech, and I'm not saying shasat chad gadol. Certainly if they don't have children, and certainly if they have shalom bayis problem, and certainly if they have whatever it is, a real tzarech gadol is for sure. But even without that, stam tzarech. Generally speaking, when a husband and wife are together for half a year, especially a year, the woman goes crazy. The husband usually, they have patience and they have, they have, can't say they have more betachon than women, but, they're cool with it. But the women, they get nervous very much because the whole purpose of a woman is to give to children. So therefore, they get very... What? I can't hear. What?
You mentioned that women's role is to have children. That's
right.
Only one day in the Gemara. There's other people that say Alul Yaifi.
But the ladies paskin for themselves, the ik's children. It's a machlekes in the Gemara, Rabbi Akiva, and the Gittin. So, there are three shittas over there. So the ladies paskin the ik's to have children. So you're not going to convince them differently. No, but we all know they get very bitzar, and it really makes problems for shalom bayis. So therefore, before 2 years, you don't have to be nervous. I heard from Rabbi Moshe, Zeichut Tzadik Leveracha, I have a very good friend, the best friend, one of the Rosh Yeshivas from one of the biggest yeshivas in the world. So I know him since 5 years old. We grew up together, we went to the same yeshivas together. So I remember he said that after 2 years, he was having a lot of difficulties. His wife was really ice mensch, and she was the daughter of a Rosh Yeshiva. And they went to Rabbi Moshe, and Rabbi Moshe was not only psak, he was a Kaddish Elyon. So Rabbi Moshe said that Zarg dich nicht, by next year at this time you're going to have a child. And kachava. And after that, they never had problems having children anymore. He says, Aval halacha bisveya darf man in garnished zargin. Till 2 years, you have nothing to worry about. After 2 years, ich gebe euch a bracha, so that's sein good. So this is all, I hope I'm telling the Olam Chiddush dike Sachen also, to know. And we are machmer if there's a zivas davalach in the praise door, that it's considered a hargosha. I'm going to end because some people have to leave, and we're going to continue. We have so much to continue. I just have the first 2 pages over here. But okay. Oh, this is a Shena Chakira. This is a Shena Chakira. I'll leave you. It's not so much Negela Maisa, but it's a Shena Chakira. If you meet somebody that's learning Niddah, you can ask them this Chakira, because it's not such a pashto answer. It's brought down in the Paiskim, but the Marachas HaShulchan also brings it down. He says, let's say a woman finds dam, but there was no hagosha. But not only she finds dam, listen to this, she has a flow. She has a flow of dam, but she has no hagosha. So what's the din? Do we say, what could be better than that? She had the flow of dam. So you would say, certainly she's a niddah. I don't even hear the kasha. Well, she had a flow of dam. So what do we need our gosha for if we see the blood gushing out of it? But there's another tzad that says no. It says until you're margish bibsara. In Haraya Kesem, right? You learned the beginning of Haraya Kesem that you have to be margish bibsara. In other words, she has to feel the hargosha bibsara. It's a gzeres hakosu, that she can be flooding a river, but if she doesn't have a hargosha, it is not a diraisa. Of course, it's the Rabbanim, but it's not a diraisa. So this is a machlokes, and I'll just tell you the 2 shitas. So staptu b'zeh achreinim and havi tameid midrabanan, because the blood came without argosha, or do we say davi tameid midiraisa? How could it be that she wasn't margish? She was seeing a flow of blood. How could it be? Because maybe she thought it was hargoshis eida bedika, or hargoshis evi b'shas tashmish, or whatever. It could happen. Or a lady when she has the kids screaming on her head and everybody's on top of her and doing this, that, she can push it, lose track if she has hargosha. So this is a famous machlokes, and le'in halacha kosvu hakreisi u'pleisi. That's the Elimelech Rabbi and Eibishitz, the first shtickle in Tiferes Yisrael. His sefer on Yeridei is called Tiferes Yisrael, so it's the first kreisi u'pleisi. Hasidrei Tara v'achavas das, the 2 Rashi Poskim in Hilchos Niddah, Dahavi Tameya Midiraisa. She's Tameya Midiraisa. Now, even though, maybe we'll speak about it next time, even though there's a Shitas Rashi, and I found in the Berjana Rav, he was a very big bucky, he found an Or Zerua that says not like that, but it looks like the halacha is like the Sidri Tara and the Chavaz Das. Those are the 2 Rashi Poskim of Yeridei and Rabbi and Eibishitz, that if she sees a flow without having a hargosha, she's Tameya Midiraisa. Because, the hargosha, even though there's a tzad to say it's Xeris Akasiv, but Lamaisa, it has to have been she had hargosha. Somehow she missed it. So therefore, she would be Tameya. And I'll leave you with one thing that comes up, and it's practical. It's not so shchir, but it comes up. I had it a few times. that women bear big tzvayim, right? Women bear big tzvayim. Now, normally, big tzvayim is not makabel tumah, as we all know, and they were never guys on such a thing. We'll speak about next time. Let's say it's thick. Because it's not the shear on the bottom touching the beged, but on top you can see the color of the blood. So we'll speak about that. It's also something you didn't see in the Achronim. It's the later Achronim speak about this. But, so now, what was I saying? I'm sorry. She sees a lot of blood on her underwear. A lot of blood on the underwear. And she didn't have a hargasha. So it's, everyone has a little blood, and Reb Moshe writes in his Medayik from Rashi in the beginning of Niddah that the derech of woman is to go deep and deep, it goes little by little, and then it floods out more and more, and then it comes out like Kamayna Mizgabra. But this woman, she had a lot of blood. So do you consider this like a regular dam, which is, and we don't paskin that it's asa, or do you say that if she had so much blood, even if she didn't feel hanagasha, you must say that she had a hargasha, and for some reason, we don't know why, she didn't feel it, and it's a derisidic of blood. Okay, so everybody hears the Tutz. Okay, so don't be ashamed. Sometimes I'm not clear, so maybe So please. So this is the last thing. I just wanted a food for thought for the next time. So so the interesting thing is that Reb Moshe, you're not going to find this in all the tshuvas. There was a kuntris that was given out once for a few months, and then they went out of print. Mesifta Tveres Yerushalayim gave out a few booklets. It's called a kuntris Torah v'Orah, and they had tshuvas of Reb Moshe that never were printed in any of his sfarim. So they asked Reb Moshe this question. So Reb Moshe said a very interesting answer. He said, even though she had a lot of blood, and she says, I didn't feel anything, even if she saw a lot of blood. But how could it be that she had such an amount of blood that she didn't feel it? It must have been that something distracted her, or whatever, something crazy happened, or her kids were screaming. She was in the bathroom, her kids were screaming, come on, Ma, I need to get my lunch packed, please get out of there, and they're going crazy. So it has to be that when there's so much blood that it's not shaykh, she shouldn't have had a riyah, so then we say that it's tameh. And there's a Chuvas Ar Yitzchak from one of the Paiskim in Lakewood. He says the same thing. He didn't see the Reb Moshe, but he says the same thing. But he goes with a different share. He says that there's so much blood, and you turn over the beged or the pad like this, and blood comes down, that's also a rye. There was a lot of blood, and there must have been a hargasha, but somehow she didn't see it. So, okay. So, Mitzvah Shem, we learned a little bit about 2 pages of notes, and I hope you learned something. And in Mitzvah Shem, tomorrow I have a din tar together with Rosh Koil, so I won't be able to be here. But next week, I'm sure we can say one more shir on this, and you'll learn a lot of other things. Okay, so have a good Shabbos. I won't see you tonight. Kol Tov.